With us now from Washington, we have the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Republican Congressman Mike Rogers of Michigan. Congressman, great to talk to you, Mr. Chairman. We can talk politics a little bit first, though. A fascinating story on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. It sent shockwaves. It was written by Carol Lee and Jay Solomon. Sent shockwaves across the Middle East, especially our Sunni allies, that President Obama continues to secretly send letters to the Ayatollah talking about being allies against ISIS. What can you tell us about it?
Well, the White House certainly hasn't denied it, that they've done this, and I can tell you that it is causing real problems with our Sunni Arab League partners in the fight against ISIS. It's really concerning. We saw this happen originally under the negotiations, the nuclear negotiations, where they had these secret arrangements with secret negotiations, and we knew that that had big blowback from our Sunni-led nation partners who were interested in pushing back on a nuclear Iran. And boy, we would think that you'd learn your lesson from the first go-around and how just really damaging it has been to our allies, including Israel, by the way. And now to have another round of it is really quite concerning.
Steve Ratner.
So what would you advise the president at this point to be doing vis-a-vis the problem of Iran and its relationship to nuclear weapons, its relationship to ISIS, and everything else that's going on in the Middle East?
Yeah, well, originally what we wanted to do is ratchet up the sanctions, and if you recall, the president didn't support them. He finally went ahead and signed off on it, but he was opposed to sanctions. They were just starting to bite the elite of Iran, and this was what was concerning for all of us, and this is a bipartisan concern, by the way, and that's important from Congress, that we were finally starting to have impact on the people who were surrounding the leadership in Iran that was starting to take a bite. Well, when you relieve that pressure valve, which happened, what we have seen is Iran slowing down any real negotiation. Matter of fact, the last extension came only because the United States said, well, we'll release billions of dollars to you to keep talking, and we didn't really get anything for it. And sometimes we forget the consequence of a nuclear Iran. You know, Sunni-led countries have said, listen, if Iran, a Shia country, gets a nuclear weapon, we're going to get a nuclear weapon. So by doing this wrong, you proliferate a nuclear arms race in the Middle East that should bring a bead of sweat to all our foreheads. All right. That part has been troubling, and that's why so many of us are concerned, especially this second round of secret negotiations. Never a good idea.
Katty Kay.
Congressman, you see all of the intel on this, and the speculation has been all along that whilst it might not be coordinated at the most senior levels, clearly when it comes to the fight against ISIS, there is some sort of coordination already taking place between the Iranians and the American coalition. You know, we've had examples of where Iranian forces are working on the ground in the same places that the Americans are bombing from the air. I mean, how, to an extent, you know, this letter just reflects a reality, doesn't it?
No, I completely disagree with that. What you're talking about is there is some sense of military coordination on military flights so airplanes don't collide into each other. That even happens today with civilian aircraft between Iran and other nations that they have adversarial relationships with. This is a whole new game. And I will tell you, just because the enemy of your enemy sometimes wants to help you doesn't mean they're still not your adversary. In this case, that's the case. Remember, Iran is still engaged in activities, Bahrain, in Iraq, in Yemen, that's trying to overthrow these particular governments, are certainly causing them trouble. And so you have to remember the folks who are seeing this, who are pushing back and trying to be helpful with ISIS, are looking at the United States and scratching their heads saying, wait a minute, we're getting overrun by these folks. They're up to absolutely malicious activity right here in our own neighborhoods, and you want to sit down and negotiate with them. This is dangerous. And I argue, again, you got to pick your friends in these types of fights. And, you know, making it muddled at the expense of the folks who have actually stood up and put arms in and money and trainers and risked their own lives to fight back on a growing threat of ISIS, it doesn't seem like a very good plan to me.
Let's bring Chuck Todd, the host of Meet the Press, in. Chuck?
Mr. Chairman, what about, though, this issue that, in this case, against ISIS, Iran also wants to destroy ISIS, too? So this whole thing is sort of, there is some potential for realpolitik here, is there not?
I just think it's very dangerous, Chuck, to do this because, again, you have to understand it's not like everyone's going to join hands and say we all like ISIS, let's join together. This is causing real strains with our Arab League partners who have been good partners in this fight and are getting better. Again, there was a long time where the administration had really had to try to repair the damage done to our relationships with our Sunni-led Arab partners, especially over the Iranian deal. And this is exactly why they send secret letters, because they don't really want anyone to know. And the problem is you can't ever, in this world, it's pretty hard to do that when you're talking about these high-level negotiations. And by the way, it's in Iran's interest to leak these kinds of things because it helps Iran. And so you can't really put that back in the bottle. And what it means is now our Sunni-led partners are saying, hey, wait a minute, maybe we don't participate in the way we said before. And by the way, we're going to spend time, and I know this, we get phone calls about trying to put this thing back together. And that's where somehow the administration is completely missing that end of the equation. And again, that's very concerning to me.
Congressman Rogers, thank you very much. Good to have you on the show this